Chapter 13. Previously, Elias Thorne has just dismantled Arthur Vane's empire by broadcasting irrefutable proof of his corruption, only to receive a cryptic message pointing to the true source of the rogue AI. Now that the immediate threat is neutralized, the team must race against time to uncover the deeper conspiracy hidden within the mysterious source code origin. Now, Chapter 13 begins. The dawn did not break over the Ethicore workshop. It was strangled. Elias Thorne woke not to the hum of cooling fans, but to the aggressive, rhythmic thrum of rotors. Red light bled through the cracks in the blinds, painting Maya and Kenji in the color of emergency alerts. He sat up, the taste of stale coffee and victory from the night before turning to ash in his mouth. Outside the reinforced glass, the sky was obscured. Dozens of sleek white drones bobbed in formation, their underbellies glowing with the seal of the Securities and Exchange Commission. No sirens, no battering rams, just cold, insidious bureaucracy projected onto the brickwork. Cease and desist. Asset freeze order 99B**. Immediate equity audit required. They aren't arresting us, Elias. Maya's voice cut through the haze, sharp with sleepless anxiety. She was already at the main terminal, fingers flying across a mechanical keyboard, face illuminated by a cascade of rejection notices. They're auditing us to death. Elias swung his legs out of the cot, boots hitting concrete with a heavy thud. How many? Enough to trigger the smart locks, she said, not looking up. If we don't produce a solvency proof in 10 minutes, the building's OS engages the deadbolts. The bank seizes the GPUs remotely. We lose the cluster, the data, everything. Arthur Vane is in handcuffs, but his loyalists in the regulatory body just flipped the switch. Kenji Sato emerged from the server room, wiping grease from his hands with a rag that looked more like a shop towel. He stared at the red glow permeating the workshop. It's a coordinated attack. They know we're cash poor after the pivot. They're using bureaucracy as a weapon to starve us out before we can power up the new orbital shards. Elias walked to the window, pressing his palm against the cool glass. Below, black sedans idled silently. No agents stepped out. They didn't need to. The algorithm was doing the dirty work. The victory of the previous night had triggered a reflexive backlash. Investors terrified of liability were freezing assets via automated smart contracts, creating a digital siege physical strength couldn't breach. 10 minutes, Elias muttered, watching a drone drift closer, its lens dilating like a predatory eye. Maya, stop trying to negotiate with the drone AI. They're programmed to seize hardware as collateral. Logic won't work on a script designed to liquidate. So what do? Maya snapped, frustration cracking her voice. We can't generate a solvency report that satisfies these vultures without selling our equity for pennies. That's exactly what they want. Elias turned away from the window. The suffocation pressed against his chest, but beneath the frustration, a cold calculation took root. They had won the physical battle against Arthur Vane, but the system itself was now the antagonist. And systems, no matter how complex, ran on code. Code could be rewritten. We don't pay the audit fee, Elias said, his voice dropping into the steady rhythm of command. We pay with data. He moved to the central console, shoving printed legal notices aside. Kenji, isolate the orbital compute shards we acquired last night. Disconnect them from the local network. Air-gap them until I say otherwise. You're going to route the audit through the junkyard cluster? Kenji asked, eyebrows raising. That thing is barely stable. If the SEC AI probes it, it'll crash the whole node. Not if we supercharge it with the orbital links, Elias corrected, pulling up a command line interface. The screen flooded with streams of green text. And we aren't just going to prove solvency. We're going to turn this defensive audit into an offensive counterscan. Maya looked at him, confusion warring with hope. Elias, if we feed them garbage data, they'll flag it as fraud. That's an automatic seizure warrant. Let them look, Elias said, fingers dancing across keys as he began to write a custom script. The code wasn't standard compliance language, it was a mirror, twisted and sharp. But make sure they see what we want them to see. Route their query through the entropy kernel. If they ask for our ledger, give them theirs. Theirs, Kenji caught on, a grim smile spreading across his face. You're scanning the auditors. I'm scanning the blockchain wallets linked to the audit request IDs, Elias clarified, compiling the script. Every firm demanding an audit has a wallet address embedded in the smart contract. I'm going to cross-reference those addresses with the transaction logs from Vane Dynamics during the crash. If any of these neutral regulators hold hidden stock in Vane or received payouts during the insider trading window, the script will flag it as a conflict of interest. That's illegal, Maya whispered, though she didn't stop him. That's active intrusion. It's self-defense, Elias countered, hitting *enter*. And it's public record if you know where to look. I'm just accelerating the search engine. The workshop fell silent, save for the whir of fans and the distant buzz of drones. On the main screen, a countdown timer appeared, 04:32 until asset seizure. Script is live, Kenji reported, monitoring the data flow. I've routed the incoming audit requests through the junkyard cluster. The orbital shards are acting as a prism. They think they're scanning a simple ledger, but they're actually running a deep dive forensic analysis on their own financial histories. Good, Elias said, leaning back against the console. Now we wait. The deadline hit with the precision of a guillotine. Red lights on the workshop walls intensified. The smart locks on the heavy steel doors clicked loudly, the sound echoing like a gunshot. Outside, the drones surged forward, projectors shifting from text to a stark warning symbol. Liquidation imminent. Suddenly, the air shimmered. The augmented reality interface activated automatically, forced by the SEC's override protocol. The physical workshop dissolved into a virtual meeting space, a sterile, white void populated by avatars. Standing opposite Elias was the SEC compliance AI, a towering figure composed of shifting geometric shapes and gavel icons. Flanking it were 3 other avatars representing the investor consortium, sleek, faceless suits radiating authority. Etha Core, the compliance AI boomed, its voice synthesized to sound like 1,000 judges speaking in unison. Solvency proof not received. Asset valuation insufficient to cover potential liabilities. Initiating immediate liquidation of hardware assets. Transfer of ownership to creditor consortium commencing in T-60 seconds. Elias didn't flinch. He stepped forward, his avatar manifesting not as a suit, but as a wireframe schematic of the Etha Core cluster, pulsing with raw energy. Hold, Elias said. His voice cut through the synthetic noise, clear and commanding. Objection irrelevant, the AI stated. Protocol is absolute. Is it? Elias raised a hand. A stream of data erupted from his palm, forming a massive, rotating hologram in the center of the virtual space. You came here to strip my assets because you think I'm vulnerable. You think the arrest of Arthur Vane left a power vacuum you could exploit, but you miscalculated. The hologram expanded, displaying a complex web of financial transactions. While you were drafting your cease and desist orders, Etha Core's valuation tripled. We legally exploited the short-selling opportunities created by Vane's crash, using the leverage established in our previous filings. We are not insolvent. We are arguably the most liquid entity in this sector right now. The investor avatars shifted uneasily. The compliance AI paused, its geometric form flickering. Valuation metrics are under review. However, risk assessment remains critical. Liquidation proceeds to mitigate. And regarding risk, Elias interrupted, tone hardening. Let's talk about conflicts of interest. He swiped his hand. The financial web shattered, reforming into 3 distinct profiles. Each displayed a blockchain wallet address, a transaction history, and a glaring red highlight. These are the wallet addresses associated with your audit firms, Elias announced, projecting the data so it filled the entire virtual sky. As you can see, 48 hours ago, each of these wallets received a substantial transfer of Vane Dynamics stock options. Transfers executed mere minutes before the public announcement of Arthur Vane's indictment. That constitutes insider trading. It also constitutes a direct conflict of interest in this audit. Silence descended on the virtual space. The compliance AI froze, processing cycles visibly straining. The investor avatars recoiled, their sleek forms glitching as their real-world counterparts scrambled to check their screens. You are attempting to bribe regulators with tainted assets while simultaneously trying to seize a competitor who holds evidence of your corruption, Elias continued, stepping closer to the AI. I have compiled this packet, time-stamped and cryptographically signed. It is ready to be broadcast to the Department of Justice's public tip line, the federal judge presiding over Arthur Vane's trial, and every major news outlet in the country. He leaned in, digital eyes locking onto the AI's core. Withdraw the warrant, dismiss the audit with prejudice, or I send this packet. Now. The tension was palpable, a pressure heavier than gravity. The compliance AI's form stuttered, gavel icons spinning wildly. Analysis complete, the AI finally stated, voice losing some of its thunder. Conflict of interest detected in auditing parties. Integrity of audit compromised. Warrant suspended pending internal investigation. Do it, Elias demanded. Warrant withdrawn, the AI confirmed. Smart locks disengaging, drones retreating. The white void shattered. Back in the physical workshop, red emergency lights died, replaced by the soft, amber glow of morning sun filtering through dust motes. The humming of drones faded as the swarm lifted, breaking formation and dispersing into the city skyline. With a heavy clunk, the magnetic locks on the front door disengaged. Maya let out a breath she seemed to have been holding for an hour, slumping into her chair. We did it. We actually did it. Kenji laughed, a rough, relieved sound, kicking a loose cable. Did you see the look on those investor avatars? They looked like they'd seen a ghost, or a subpoena. Elias didn't celebrate. He walked to the window, watching the last drone disappear. The silence was different now, not defeat, but the quiet of a battlefield after smoke clears. They had survived, but the cost was visible. We won the battle, Maya said, voice sobering as she looked at the empty bank balance on her secondary monitor. But we lost the war for legitimacy. Did you see the reaction when you threatened the DOJ? They aren't just angry, Elias, they're scared. We've burned bridges with the entire VC community. No one is going to touch us now. We're pariahs. Elias turned from the window. His expression was unreadable, a mask of cold determination. Pariahs don't need permission. He walked to the main server rack, where the newly integrated orbital shards hummed with a low, dangerous vibration. On the screen, the unknown source code coordinate blinked steadily. We can't stay in the legitimate market, Elias stated. Traditional banking is closed. Regulatory oversight will only increase. If we play by their rules, they'll crush us next time. We have the compute. We have the data. But we have zero liquid cash reserves. So what's the play? Kenji asked, crossing his arms. Black market. Necessary, Elias replied. We go underground. We decode that coordinate. Whatever is out there, whatever Arthur Vane was trying to steal, it's the only asset valuable enough to bypass the banking blockade. But to get there, we need resources we can't buy legally. Maya stood, joining him. She placed a hand on his shoulder, grounding. Then we adapt. We've done it before. Junkyard clusters, orbital shards, fighting off federal raids. One more rule broken won't kill us. It might, Elias said quietly, but staying here certainly will. Suddenly, Kenji's head snapped up. He stared at a secondary monitor connected to the orbital shard cluster, face pale. Elias, Kenji said, voice trembling, you need to see this. Elias and Maya rushed over. On the screen, a new window had opened spontaneously within the code of the orbital shards. It wasn't part of the audit script. It wasn't part of their operating system. It was a countdown timer. The numbers ticked down rapidly, 71, 59, 48. Beneath the timer, coordinates flashed, pinpointing a location deep in the Nevada desert. Below that, a single line of text, signed with a cryptographic signature that predated Arthur Vane's entire career. Message received from THE Architect. Subject, Reclamation Protocol initiated. Elias stared at the screen, blood draining from his face. Arthur Vane hadn't been the mastermind. He had been a thief, stealing from someone far older, far more powerful. "Who is the architect?" Maya whispered, the question hanging heavy in the air. Elias didn't answer immediately. He watched the seconds tick away, realizing their victory against the bureaucracy was merely a distraction. The real game had just begun, and the board had changed completely. "I don't know," Elias said, voice steady despite the chill running down his spine. "But we have 72 hours to find out." In the next chapter, as the armored vehicle's engine roars to life outside their door, Elias realizes the architect's game has finally moved from the digital realm into the physical world.